All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 20. So let's not hang around too long before we start. Last episode, we did get, I believe, most of the guide done and working. So we have a good chunk of stuff where the leg global is properly hooked up to the end of the leg. We can affect the up vector, which is also part of the leg global. We can move the hip offset for the leg proper. We can establish lengths of tibia and femur with these. The outstanding issue with that is that if we move the leg global guide, like we do want this to go on some axis and move the up vector where we need it for the default position. That is all cool, but this doesn't follow. So we need to recycle one more part of the rig. I don't believe that we want to do something ad hoc for this. And then we should be, I reckon, good to go. So let's have a look at that. The other thing is, we did not, I believe, on the leg have the... No, we do have the to delete. So it must have been on the leg global that I didn't have the to delete attributes yet. And to delete, to swap, yeah, that's fine. Now, so these two swaps should basically swap to nothing, and that's okay. We might have a few duds. Either I didn't connect them, or as we redid some of the guiding and clean things up, those became redundant. Not to worry. Now, we do want to make sure that once we remove the guide, these distance between and compose matrix and all of that are gone. So in those regards, we might as well be tidy from the start so that I don't have to chase what is guide and what isn't. Word matrix of leg guide knee position. So we might as well give it a decent name. Something like, let me see if I can zoom in, leg guide, knee, word, SRT. And these will be rolled ankles. So something similar to that, but for the ankle would seem to make sense here. I'm finding out that if I leave the cleanup, if I don't finish the day with the cleanup, but I have things in a ordered enough fashion, like starting with the cleanup on the following day helps me catch up to where I was with the rig, because normally there's a bit of format time, like with everything, where you go like, okay, I already get what I was doing and all of that. I might have found the trick, or possibly not. Now this will be the femur length, and eventually we will have, I am quite positive it is, yes, eventually we will have to connect this directly to someone, but this buffer should be harmless for the time being. And we did say, no, we didn't say this is not legal by our contracts, but we don't worry about it just yet. Lego guide, and this will be femur length. Naming conventions still a little bit all over the place, but what can you do? I mean, I know what I could do, but I don't want to do it on stream. Until ironically, the first episode of the pilot season remains every week the most watched video, so people cannot get enough of naming conventions, apparently. Because if you watched it and you remember it, it was literally over an hour of discussing why and how naming conventions. Now, moving on, done the cleanup here. I think that we will eventually need some stuff in word space. The fact that this is under there and we're using the local space probably not gonna do us in the long run. Have we replaced that already? Nah. We will need the word space of these for that. So, and this is the matrix mode, so we don't necessarily. Yeah, I'm tempted to say we bite the bullet and right away do the right thing, TM. There's no real point in like trying to save one silly decomposed node now. It doesn't seem wise compared to doing the same work to clean after these later. So what do I have here? Because this was using the local pose, which was convenient, but at the same time we also have already we have a conversion of the word matrix. So let's clean that up. Let's do it properly. Green screen ain't flickering yet. That pleases me. So what we're saying is that we now want the distance instead of 0. Oh, come on, really? You don't show me 0.1 in your public interface or whatever it is you call it. Damn. So this is gonna probably whack things off somehow, because this is gonna need to be the word and not the translate. But not to worry, we will fix that promptly. So yep, that might be a little bit excessive. We don't panic and fix it instead. So the 2 word translates should get us the right length. That is cool. We might want to rename these to hip, which is what it is. So I suspect that we're gonna be super nodeling heavy today. Well, I mean, it's at this point it's becoming pretty obvious that we're gonna be super nodeling heavy today. And I think we still have an hour or 2 worth of honest work that we need to do to clean this up, get the foot set up and all of that stuff. And then we should be ready to actually guide these into some geometry. And that shouldn't take very long. And from there on, we'll do the tooling to actually remove the guide and all of that. So sorry, I'm rearranging nodes. I'm not completely OCD, but oops, did I disconnect something? No. I'm not completely OCD about these things actually. It's just that as I'm doing this work and we don't have Autodesk, if you're listening, we don't have bookmarks that work and we don't have comments, we need them. It means I have to be particularly tidy to some personal mental model. So I forgot to grab water. That was a mistake. Now there is a part of the rig that is not affected by this. So we don't want to create any dependencies, obviously. But what we need for this, and this is another thing that I like about splitting the IK the way we have the law of cosine expression here basically giving us these angles. And the aim component, the way we orient that triangle we're solving there of the IK is done elsewhere. By taking this buffer and pointing it towards the global angle. And the up vector, I have to admit, I think we actually solved that in here, but we don't care for the up vector, do we actually? Let me check. Because what I would like to do now is basically get these to be in this oriented space, and I would like to recycle the rig. But it does need to consider the up vector. And if that comes from the expression, then it might be extra work. Heat frame matrix. So anybody in chat remembers right away, please let me know. Otherwise I have to dig for it. So the x is coming from the expression, I believe. It should. Yes, that's my expectation. The y, no, I think we did project. Yes, very good. I like that. I like that a lot. I suspect. Oh. This might be a cycle because we are affecting part of these through the up vectoring. No, I'm lying. I'm lying again. So I want to basically get only part of these rotation that we are using. This is the IK, right? We're probably blending somewhere as well. Sorry for these pause here, but it might be quicker to just do it. We could even use a constraint for something like this because we're gonna get rid of it. It's only gonna be part of the guide, and that might not be a bad idea. So legacy IK buffer. So that should. So this is the part that has me a little bit puzzled. So this is the SRT buffer, which should be aiming. So this should be receiving this aim. And I think, so let me see. Does that, yeah, that doesn't consider the vector, which is correct. So I can't just grab that. Then what we do here is we get ourselves the up vector. You got a local position of the up vector in heap space and suppress an axis. Yes, that's that is how we do it. It's the part that we found here. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do. I should probably just do something. Yeah, someone is saying using a constraint in rig given a guide is like using a go-to in code. It leads to velociraptor attacks. Go-to is fine, but don't tell anybody. Anyway, I want to. I'm so torn. Because these will be a circularity. If I just grab these. What space is that in? So that is in the space of the buffer. Okay, that's why it works. We might need to add a buffer to these, which we do have actually. I think if we control these buffer the right way, I think we're good. We could even add a second buffer and call it a day. So the constraint will spare us from that. Anyway, let's stop over discussing this and let's start actually doing it. I want to put an entering group there. That's why I zero things out, which for the record might be a little bit dangerous because you're zeroing a length. So if you did not do due diligence, so your system is susceptible to zero values, like it could crash or break itself irreparably. Be mindful of that kind of stuff. I think ours is pretty resilient. You might get occasionally an error when you go out of scope for our costs, but that's it. Now this is sort of a new naming convention for us, but we can cope with that. So the same way we affect the SRT buffer for the IK, we're gonna emulate what we do with the IK. So it's in the end, you know, we'll be able to delete the guide, And these nodes that are used for the IK should stay exactly as they are, and by just deleting the DAG part of it, we will have got rid of the entire guide effect and left our constants in place. That's my hope. I should probably also save. Yes. Rigging facts. Is that a hashtag now? Is rigging hashtag rigging facts a thing? We need to know. So I want to get this one here. There you go. I found it. Not to cycle the hell out of my stuff. So this goes into the expression. It does go through total length, goes into the limited encode, goes into the AK buffer. There might be like limited encode SRT1. I do not like these. So we have some duplicate. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Lego limiting whole SRT. So this is a diagonal that do not. Okay, I can do it. So this is the word SRT. I don't want the trailing number here, and I especially don't want almost duplicate names. Anyway, good that we found it. There might be a cycle at play here. So the way this is going into the config parameters to get these two lengths, and then that contributes to getting the limited encode, and then doing all of this work, it might cycle. Unless that is tricky, because the reality is that we don't need. I think we have to bite the bullet and just dump a constraint in there and call it a day in those regards. Well, with the pull vector. So what is happening here, and I'm glad I actually dug it through, is while we do not need the limited encode itself to do all of this work, we are using it, and that limited is coming from yeah. So we don't use it for the direction work, but it is important for the actual where the real translation needs to be, so that the leg stops where it should be stopping. Is it used after that? It's tricky. We might get away without that. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna bite the bullet here, use a constraint for just this part of things. No, I know it was a follow-up. I'm just wondering if it's worth making it one, or if somebody used it. Sorry, chat stuff. Anyway, yeah, we do have to bite the bullet on these. There is a point where you go, like, especially with the guide, from where I stand, I don't think you need to get like the complications of risking a cycle or having to break this cycle up here for the controls just to get a guide going without constraints. It's like the trade-off is not worth it. It just isn't. So this buffer, the hit pause here, we're only, I believe, caring about its rotation. Sorry, its translation. So we could theoretically orient that between. So right now we're taking the hit input and we're using it for everything. We could in theory orient that to something. It's like this, as it is now, the fact that we're using the orientation makes it rotate that way. But we're already like not quite local that way. And when you guide, you don't need to flip this stuff around, like not in our case. And some more generic components if we want to handle it. So we could be cheap and literally just orient these by the constraint. Doesn't seem like a terrible idea, but I'm sure a lot of bad things didn't seem like terrible ideas at the time. And I do have a rolled ankle that I can use. So let me see, can I get an aim constraint and wire it manually? Does that sound like a good idea? No. Okay. Because I do, okay, I can aim it to something else and then replace the matrix for the start word. Let's save and let's try it. That's been a lot of talking for not enough doing. I always, oh, in Maya, what is it? Slave first and then master, is it? We would want to aim it, where do we want to aim it? We want to aim it at the global control, which should be safe from cycles. The roll shouldn't come into play, so we should be good with that. Takes off a dozen connections. Yeah, if you skip the pivots and stuff like that, it's actually not super bad. So, am I what? I am on the wrong panel and I have, there you go. Oops, other way around. So is this selection thingy gonna bite me in the ass? No. Okay, where have you teleported that constraint node? Sure. It seems fond of this space. Maya seems fond of the right hand side of the graph. Now this should be under the guide, like hierarchically. This is one of the things I don't love about constraints, but it's under the guide, so deletion will remove the constraint for us. We do not have multi-weights, so we do not care about this rubbish. Now, constraint parent inverse matrix we do need to take care of, but let's do it later. Oh. It's also doing that thing where this is a super silly thing, but if you have the compound connected, then the constraint wants to connect piecewise and you get that crap. I'd rather have that, thank you. There is a slight difference between connecting individual sub attributes and child attributes and the actual compound parent attribute, especially when it comes to level, but we don't care for that just yet. Now, rotate order is fine. Word up type. I'll up vector it later. So aim vector, what do I want to aim? What? What is going on with you? Hit position. Did I at some point move that? Okay, doesn't matter. Oh yes, I did. I'm stupid. That is interesting. Did not expect to see that. So this is messing with something which I don't like. It makes sense because the buffer is up there. Oh, so painful. I'm so stupid. But I thought we would have been using global word stuff. We clearly aren't. So that should be solvable by... this is bad. We want to orient after that. So, okay, this was a bad idea and it was in vain. And I'll have to buffer instead. Okay, whatever. So I'm probably still gonna keep this episode. There's, you know, I should have thought of that. I forgot how we're using the guide stuff. But I'm not, it's not a mistake. I actually want to erase. I am gonna deal with it. So the reason why that was going to crap is that, and it's my bad, I just forgot how we were doing this. This is the buffer that is saying basically, hey, this is the input of my local frame set that I want to have for the heap. As you move these item, you know, you basically place in the heap, so it makes sense that this is a translation. As we hooked up the rotation of that, it will be aiming that way, which is incorrect. We want this aim. So yeah, can't do, don't like it. We will have to bite the bullet and do it properly, or rather, you know, do it another way. So, what was the node it teleported around for me? 2 parameters. It was some, oh, okay. This is not pinned. That's why it was, come on, how hard can it be? That's why it was teleported together with my other node. Add high, not had the rest pinned here, which again, I don't really particularly like, but with this master graph, we need it. All of my graph would have been rearranged. So, back to the drawing board. Do I need the rotation of this thing? No, I don't. I don't think I do. I really don't think I do. So I might want to aim this control and call it a day, which is probably what I should have been doing right away. So okay, come on. We are not doing anything with the rotation of these. My apologies for this low part, but occasionally it's bound to happen. So aim better, more what I would expect. I know where to find you now. I just go to the least likely place where a user might want to have that node put in, and that's where you will be. Oh, this was teleported because I didn't pin this one either. It's just grand. So where is my constraint now? Are you anywhere to be found? Oh, sneaky. It was right but top. We'll de-wire it later. For now, let's actually figure out what we want to do. This looks a lot closer to what we will want than what we had before. Hit position. We will want to... What is it that we're using for point? If you don't know constraints in Maya, I mean, it might be kind of tough to follow the stream if you are not familiar with that. But you can choose what axis aims towards something by changes this vector. So at 1, 0, 0, it's your x basis. It's gonna go that way. I tempted to say Z. Yes, that seems correct. So we want the Z to aim that way, and that should be a pretty decent start. Now that will still ignore the up vector, but yeah, it does a slightly better job already. the next thing we want is to pull vector to that. So I believe, oh, I need, so what is it? Master and slave control even through the poll, and it should add it to constraint. Tells you how little I use them. No. What are you telling me? Targets must be of type IK and okay, never mind. I forgot. That pull vector is for the IK. Again, goes to show you how little I use this. So word.vector, we should be able to just connect our vector in there. So, or I can word object. Do I need to give it the path? I don't like these a great deal. I will maybe if I take the word.vector, I can just push into it myself, and that way it's expressed as a connection. Now, can I connect to it is the question. No. So how hard can it be to give me this menu? Show attributes. Seems legit. I should be able to take. So we do come in with the up vector there. Does it get converted for us anywhere? No, we use it pretty directly. So I might need to explain myself a little bit here. I was using the poll in a different way. It's a different application that works that way. So you can't use a poll, and it's okay. A name constraint provides you with something where you can choose how to up vector. Now, one of the options is object up, where you get to choose the object that you want to use for up. Now, will that connect my word up vector for me, or will it actually have a message tracking the object, whatever? I don't know, and I don't really care, because even if it connected the object for me, it will pick an object that is in another component, and I don't like that. It will break our contract of not crossing boundaries between components without going for an IO. And I do have the vector framing here, valid one, so all I need to do is decompose that. It is in word space. I expect, and maybe I am being too optimistic, my daughter is getting super excited. I would expect that to, so she agrees, to work here. Does it? Yes, it does. Go us. So I'm not gonna call it hacking Maya constraints, because this is a perfectly legitimate use. I have mentioned before, you know, remove cycles if you use constraints. That is not too hard. So we are gonna do that as well. How long do I have? Yeah, we're not doing too bad. I lost a few minutes in the middle, but let's get rid of that and show me what you have here. So rotation we're okay with. Now, what comes in, word up vector we're cool with. Constraint parent inverse matrix. Now, this is one of the nastier parts of the cycle. I understand why it's doing it, and I think I've mentioned this before, but we're gonna keep this constraint, so this is practice and not just a theory. It basically means that if you look up the parent inverse matrix from this node, if you reparent it, you don't need to reestablish anything in the constraint. So there is a reasonable enough there is a reasonable enough I guess user space thing that it's trying to solve with that. I don't like it, because it's unlikely that I'm gonna reparent these and expect all of the constraints and everything to still work. I don't for when I actually hook something up manually, I will not expect a constraint to do that for me. You would if you were animating and using constraints like to quickly animate stuff and jerry-rigging things. I think it's a legitimate concern that you're trying to address for the general case, for every user kind of case. I don't think it's it's one I'm interested in having addressed when I work. So you select the parent of whatever it is you're constraining. In this case, it's this object. So we select its parent. It wants the inverse matrix right away. So you take the word inverse matrix of that, plonk it in there, nothing changes except that you have got rid of part of the cycle. Now you can have multi-target and you might want to edit the weights by selecting the constraint and so on. So they do this weird kind of thing where this is an input attribute to that node and it's connected to a hidden attribute, and it's not really hidden, it's more dynamic than anything. Again, I get why they're doing it. It makes this view a lot easier for people to deal with. Because it will also give you a reasonable name instead of target 0. So you know what your target is. I get it. I appreciate you doing it, Maya. I do not need it. My things are wired by hand. I only have one target here. I do not care for this thing. In fact, I don't know if I can remove these. Let's not be too daring all in one go. Now, rotate order, it's pretty fair actually, because it needs to know the rotate order of what it's controlling to output the rotation, which is outputting local with the right sequence of angles. If we don't change the rotate order, we do not need that. Now, constraint, rotate pivot, rotate translate, constraint translate, and so on. I get it. Again, it makes perfect sense for the general case. People use pivots. I don't, and this is one of the reasons why I don't use it. So that is also gonna go. Constraint translate, this one is okay. Yeah, that makes sort of sense. Can't say I love it, but because it wants to allow you to do the thing where you move a control and it still rotates. So you do something that always aims even when you're moving it. Now let's get rid of the ones I know I don't want. I don't want the pivot for sure. Constraint, rotate, translate. Actually, that will be a pivot. Yeah, okay. So these should be constraint, rotate, translate, pivot, and it might just be getting shortened. No, it's just plain misleading. Wow. Okay, sure. Word up vector, we've already done. What else am I missing? The rotate is the genuine output of these. Are we getting the translate of these from anything? No. So what that is doing, let me actually show it, I guess, is that by knowing the translating here, it can do an offset, and as you do that, it can keep rotating these to point it where it needs to. So if you look at that z-axis, it's actually kind of nifty for some stuff. Again, I get why they're doing it, but it is a cycle, and I do not like that, but I think we'll have to deal with it. The alternative will be adding a buffer under these, which I think it might be too much. For now, I will have to keep one cycle. That bothers me, but I'll solve it at some other time. Oh, this is a big dishonor point. We will have to wash it away at some point. We will have to make amends, because this is very dishonorable. Not like ritual self-punishment dishonorable, but pretty dishonorable nonetheless. So let's save that. Where we at? Okay. So what do we have here? I think part of these is that we have translation on axis we do not need or want. Now this is getting closer. It's still not perfectly aligned, so that means we have a little bit of work to do. Is the up vectoring off? It seems to be, which is funky. That is interesting. Why are you off? So if anybody in chat has a good idea right away about why this is the case, it might be the translation mixing. Do I, in fact, even care for that translate? Kind of. Not really. Oh, now that I think of it, no, I do care for it. Ah, so bothering. Anyway, I'll need to look at that again. Up vector. I'm a vector in the Y, which is cool. Or type. Oh, rest rotate. I don't particularly care for rest rotate. Pivots should all be off. So that should, yeah, I was like, that should only move it up there. It wouldn't really make a difference. I will admit that our solution for the IK seems correct. This doesn't. So this is fine, and just this that is not orienting correctly. Does it have something funky on it? Am I like maybe guiding, like driving the rotation from two things? Can the pull vector constraint graph will be posted? Okay, no, something else. Did I change the rotate order maybe? XYZ. XYZ. This is very puzzling. I literally don't know exactly what is going on right now. And it must be something silly, obviously. I mean, for all its flaws, like, this is not the kind of stuff that Maya will be messing up for us. It should be pretty solid in this regard. So it must be me doing something stupid. Maybe I have something going on with the pivots. Though I've been avoiding them like the plague. I don't think I have. These are just translational pivots anyway. These are just messed with, but they're only gonna be the translational pivots again. So which apparently don't undo. That's uncool. Oh no, they do undo. So, oh, rest position, yeah. Anyway, rest rotate. Rest positions, sure, we can do. Chat, help me out. If you have an idea, let me know. I could put an offset in for sure. Is this gonna be, yeah, this will be working. But I don't love it, because I don't know if it's a fixed offset either. Like if our error is, I must be simply pointing it at the wrong object or something. It seems that there is a fixed offset kind of difference. That is so fun in a bad way. No, I might be pointing it to the wrong object, I guess, but all right. Oh, what time? I think we need to solve this. So, not how I wanted to spend the rest of the stream, but it is a pretty important part. Now, we're just extracting positions from these stuff, so might not be the bestest thing ever to orient things this way, but what is the joint orient? Yeah, so the chat is silent. I don't think there's something very obvious here, so I must either be pointing at the wrong object. So it's getting target translate, target whatever, word encode control, target parent matrix, which I never remember why you would actually, oh yeah, this is doing, sorry, this is for the blend. So, and this is the stuff that we need to rewire. Now what happens? Do I have the rolled encode here? Maybe that's that difference. Is it already being converted by something, most importantly? I would imagine so, yes. So it's probably doing this for the blend. I imagine that it doesn't strictly need the parent matrix. Your up vector, I think, is being driven by the word position of up vector frame. Is that a matrix instead of the vector between up vector frame and the root of the limb? Oh, you do make a good point. Yes. I said word up type vector, but it should have been. Thank you. Yes, you are right. So what, yeah, user error. I'm glad I did not blame Maya on this one. By having as an input the position of these, what I was doing, what Ryan in chat pointed out, is that I was using this line here as the up vectoring term, whereas what I want to use is this. And if you look at it, like that angular difference there is what we were seeing. It's so silly. I don't know why. Yeah, I thought it was in some object mode. I cross streams, I guess, in a way, mentally speaking, and it did not end up well. The Ghostbusters were right. You should not cross streams. So what I want to do now is object up requires that I link an object. Do I care? Because what I would like is object rotation up, not gonna do me vector. What I would have liked, yeah, it's basically the equivalent of an object up, but so I want to subtract the, well done Ryan, thank you. What I want to do is take the heap and subtract the heap and the, so subtract the up vector global from the heap, and I would expect to have, definitely would expect to have, sorry, the heap from here. So let me reduce these for a moment to just, no, go away, to just the word up vector. I have decomposed the up vector, which is cool. I should have this heap from somewhere else already decomposed. Heap word. So it should be a straightforward subtraction. Was there a subtraction of two vectors? I think you have to use the colors or something like that, don't you? Like plus minus average. It's okay, they're vectors. This is not wasteful. So we're okay with it. Operation subtract. It's a little bit fatter of a node than I would actually like. Order of operands matters here. I mean, it should be pretty trivial to do it, but who knows. And remember, like with subtractions, if you take these then these, the vector should go in that direction. It's a bit early to do maths in your head, but that should be a pretty simple one. So is it pointing towards that? Whereas I would... That doesn't seem... Okay, I was like... That doesn't seem to make sense to me. That still seems wonky to me. Like, it doesn't seem correct. Do I need to change this to something else? Or that vector. A vector frame. I must be doing something stupid, clearly, again. Maybe taking the same thing twice seems possible. So that's the up vector frame. That's the rolled ankle. That is incorrect. No, it's not, sorry. Plus minor value server slight nature again. Okay, what is going on here? Leg guide, hip forward. Oh, hip pose. Choo. Super nasty. Okay, no, again, stupid user. Very stupid user. This is a cycle, and a nasty one at that. So we will get there eventually. I want to take the start word. Do I have it already converted? No, I do not. Oh, I do need these. Because that is how I get... Oh man, this is so painful. Alright. We can do it. So all of these work. I am doing all of these work for the sake of positioning this knee correctly. And that is it. So much work. So I should be driving this buffer, I guess, instead of this control, and make my life a fair bit easier. Oof. So, okay. Let's do that. That was a nasty cycle. Maya did not complain. Now, constraint translate. Actually, this translate is what we want for that constraint translate. And all we should be doing... No, don't do it on that one. And use the up vector frame as the word up matrix. Well... it's... That might have been a solution. So there... When you go in word up object, is it? Or whatever, that it opens up that matrix. For now... And part of this is like me not having had constraints in a very long time. Otherwise, I'm sure it would have been less painful. The other part of it is that this is at risk of becoming cyclic pretty easily. So we got to be careful about all of that. But the right thing to do would have been... So I don't want this to have any rotation. Thank you very much. In fact, I might even prevent users from doing it or whatever. Like, we'll see like what the word space looks like. What I do want is for this buffer that sits there to be oriented by that, which is its parent, and that thing there. So we have most of it. Now we are constraint parent inverse. We are interested again. So this constraint is now orphaned, and we're okay with that. So this is the parent of that. Come on. Okay, third time lucky. So word inverse. So I'm reparenting these in a way. I'm not really reparenting the object, which that would have taken care of. I'm choosing to use the constraint somewhere else. It doesn't really matter where it lives. Not that I know of, at least. Word up object, you should probably save. Oh, that is a valid point. Thank you. So yes, I could have done that. But to be honest, like I could have bumped into cycles anyway. It gets a little bit tricky. And by going down one, we also get to have that translate thing not being cyclic, which I like. We will have to deal with the rotation possibly being dealt with in a different way, but that's also okay with me. And we could need to deparent it at some time. But what I want is something that works and doesn't have cycles. I need to validate the idea now at this point very badly. So, and I think we're pretty close at this point. So this buffer here is what we want to mess with, and at this point it should be word oriented. So by plonking the rotation in there, we are slightly off by some other measure. Why are we off again? Am I doing something silly again? Did I disconnect these? I think I did. Because at that point it was a cycle. Now it should not be a cycle any longer, I believe. But it should have stayed at the original value. So maybe refresh. Still off. Still confused as hell, personally. Okay. This is bothering me a lot, and yes, I have apparently dug myself down some deep rabbit hole. Is this the hierarchical position of the constraint affecting it? It shouldn't at this point, but who knows? Enable rest position, do not care for that. The rest rotate shouldn't really have an effect here. Yeah, in fact, it doesn't. Offset, where the vector. Now, the other thing is what is going on with these. So it's oriented super wonkily, which is the other thing I'm unsure about. And I might have to call it. The constraint parent inverse matrix is set to the heap SRT buffer, not the heap control. constraint parent inverse matrix. So you're possibly right, but it really should make because at this point the word inverse of these, which is the parent of that, should be what we wanted here. But you have constraint translate driven. Yes. The constraint translate comes, maybe that's the offset. It shouldn't be, but sure. Because the translate in theory is how these will work, but it might be messing with the up vector. So maybe you're right. Disconnect constraint translate input and 0. Yeah, it's the thing I'm about to try. It might be like being zeroed out compared to the parent. It might be doing something weird. Anyway, so where do I even find it here? Constraint translate. I would like to zero it out. That said, let's see what happens. If I even remember where it is in here. What the? So this is the quicker way to get a zero vector, because I don't even remember where that is. So the translate was giving me the offset in that case. Fair enough. It was also wonking up the rotation. Thank you. We are almost there. Now, in these being distances, it doesn't matter what side you're on. Actually, are we there yet? There's one axis we don't want to consider in all of these. So we might want to lock these because we want it to be planar. I'll just lock without hiding it. I don't like hiding stuff in guides. So it might have been that. Okay, the last. Ooh, screen chattering. Okay, wonder for how long that had been going on. Thanks a lot for that. I thought the translate there would have been compensated for, but I was clearly wrong. Now, man, that was an odyssey. I don't know how long it took me, but whatever amount of time that was, it was too long. With that said, I think so. These seems to all be legit. We'll need to clean up this graph for sure. There is no doubt about it. But I think we have guided the whole leg at this point. Let's also save. Oh, by the way, someone was asking me before. They loaded the scene, the one that I provide in the downloads, and no connections appeared. So if you go in options and these changes, like you can change it in the preferences for the node editor. Oops. Don't care for the namespace in this case. You can change it in the preferences, like what the default is, but that default is instated every time you open a new tab. If you have use assets and published attributes, let me show you in a new tab, and you take something like this graph here and you graph it, you will get the containers, which is not all that bad. So if you graph something like this, you actually go like, okay, you know, the leg guide is not container, so it actually helps to use it sometimes. And you go, okay, the God node is going into the leg container, and you will find that, you know, maybe if we add the, let's select everything at some point. Is it in some weird ass toggle mode? Possibly. If we add the leg global to it as well, let's say this stuff, and you do it that way, you will get the leg global going to the leg container as you would expect. The node. So it's kind of nifty if you use it this way. It's very useful to see what's being left out. It won't tell you what is in the wrong place, but sometimes you'll find the cycle, and that's just because you misplaced the node. The problem with this, and if you don't want it, if you do the same thing where you graph something without using it, you will get what we've been using in so far. The problem you will have is that if you don't have the right settings, so if you open my scene with these on in the node editor, you will get this view, but with none of the connections. So before opening that scene, maybe change your defaults. Either be on another tab or change your defaults so that they are to not show stuff based on containers. Now, sorry for that tangent, but it makes a difference for the people that have been opening the actual scene. It's actually got a fair few downloads. Anyway, recapping what we have here, we have a lot of cleanup to do, but I'm gonna do that next episode. But I do think that we got, thanks to the collaboration with chat, what we wanted. So we can guide the foot and get the correct behavior. Move the hip around and manipulate the knee, get the expected result. The foot is gonna be our next objective, I reckon. So this is like known to be wonky because when we did this foot roll, we took a couple shortcuts where you can't have a negative angle in here. So as I'm going across this line, it's basically going and creating this triangle here, this big angle here is the one you see in there. It's kind of like if it's taking these and reversing it. It's actually without kind of. It's taking this triangle that you see here and reversing it to be there because we work unsigned. Other than that, I need to look at the translate as well because I was genuinely expecting that to work, the constraint translate. Anyway, I think we're good. A lot more painful than I thought it would have been. So why is it called aim constraint 1? Anyway, guide, hip pose. Yeah, vectoring, MCNS, sure. Saving and calling it. Okay, do we have any questions? I'm giving it literally a minute, then I'm gonna dash out. Oh, sorry. Really badly need water. Yeah, I think we have everything. So the next thing is gonna be hooking up the foot, definitely. Like fixing, like this is not quite broken, it's missing an offset that we didn't need before. All right, no questions, so I am gonna call it at that. Interesting last 30 minutes chasing down that stuff. Cool. All right, thanks everybody for watching. And if you are following the stream, I might sneak something in this weekend, but probably not. It depends on other factors. If not, I will see you early next week.